はい、皆さんこんにちは。新 a.k.a. マミヤことマミヤです。今日はアメリカの、テキサス州のサウスウェスタンバプテストセミナリーに来ているんですけれども、なんとテキサスで出会った彼、アリエルさんと出会ったんですけど、とっても、なんていうか日本に情熱を持っていて、すごい人物なので、ぜひインタビューさせていただきたいと思ってインタビューをしております。今日はよろしくお願いします。まずはアリエルさんのことについてちょっと聞いてみたいと思うんですけれども。
Hello, my name is Ariel Lee. I am from California, and I've been able to serve in Japan for the last 10 years. I've served with Campus Crusade in the college ministries in Tokyo. I've served with Michael O in the church ministry and seminary ministry in Nagoya, and I've been able to serve in Kyoto, Kobe, and in the Tohoku region. And as of now, I've been able to lead and train 20 short-term mission trips in Japan, and I've been able to see a lot of different things in Japan.
As Japanese or as a missionary, we have a conception, or we always say that Japanese mission is hard. We keep telling ourselves that. But when I talked to you, you said, based on your statistics, 10% of the people you shared the gospel to in Japan received the gospel.
Yes, 10% is from my experiences for the last 10 years. But if you look at church history, missions history, for the last 100 years, it's always been 10%, even from 1800s. Japan, if you ever share the gospel with someone and someone keeps record, they say it's about 10% of people hearing the gospel will receive Christ.
Why is it that we keep saying Japanese mission is hard? Or is it because, or are we not doing is it the methodology or is it the approach? What do you think is the reason why we don't get the results that we are looking for?
I think evangelism has not been trained in America or trained on missions, and it's not putting down the missionaries, but it's just saying that when we go from America, many of our churches were not used to sharing the gospel with people. Our churches, are we growing because of Christians joining our church or new people joining? Are we having baptisms with our children getting baptized or new people that have never heard about Jesus getting baptized? And then God calls these people to be missionaries, and they go to the missions all around the world. And maybe they go to Japan, but they've never saw it in America learning how to share the gospel, and now they're in another country trying to learn from scratch, a new culture, a new language, and there's other things about language and the way you share, but you might make mistakes. And then when you make mistakes, you might feel like, I don't want to share again. So, and then you now are a professional, you've been there for 3 years, and new missionaries come in and you tell them, be careful, don't share, they're not like America, just be very careful, take a long time. But I feel like if I come alongside and teach them how to share clearly and a presentation that the Japanese can understand, missionaries who've been in Japan for a long time, missionaries who are there for the first time are able to share the gospel in a way that Japanese understand.
So you are saying that the phrase Japanese mission is hard is a myth. And we can debunk it by proper training of the missionaries and the people who evangelize, or the method of evangelism. Is that correct?
To clarify,
Okay.
Ministry is hard. So Japanese ministry is still hard. But I want to clarify that Japanese are not resistant. That's the word that people say. Japanese are hard to the gospel. I feel like they're actually open to the gospel. When you share in a way that they understand, they think, wow, I've never heard this before. It's interesting. I actually want to know more about this God who loves me, this God who you say cares for me, that's not avoiding me and that knows who I am. So ministry is hard. People don't want to talk to you, they're busy. But their hearts are open, and that's what I want to debunk.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I feel guilty myself because I kept thinking that mission in Japan is hard, in different levels. I think I was the only Christian in my school, right? And I had some hard times sharing the gospel to my friends, and I think over time I kept telling myself it is hard to reach out to Japanese. But when I met you and when I heard, hey, 10% of the people who we evangelize accept Jesus Christ, wow. And so it was very encouraging, very, very encouraging. At the same time, it was very an eye-opening. It's kind of like reality check for me in my part as a minister in Japan. So I think there's a lot to learn from you. Some of the viewers here go through the same situation. They want to share the gospel to their friends. They might be Japanese, willing to share the gospel to their friends. What are your advice for the Japanese viewers? How can they share the gospel effectively?
For Japanese viewers, if they are Japanese and sharing with their Japanese friends, they need some way to show God's love. How are they different than normal Japanese? Are they just kind and courteous like a normal Japanese? Or do they do something different, go out of their way to care, ask questions that Japanese don't ask? And then through that, just start going towards the gospel. Like, hey, is there anything I can pray for you? One of the best things is that Japanese still respect prayer. They go to the shrine and ask the shrines gods to bless them. So a Christian can easily use that as a entrance towards spiritual conversation. I am a Christian and I believe God listens to my prayers and I really care for you. These are all words Japanese would never say to each other. But can I pray for you? Is there something I can pray for you? And they might be very confused, but it's a start of a conversation. And if you do it regularly, you can start asking, hey, do you think God listens to you? I think so. What do you think? And your non-Christian friend can start sharing what they think about God. And you can start sharing what you know about God. God's closeness, God's love, God's grace, God's answer to prayer, not just listening. So through that, Japanese can see. Another way is Japanese who have been coming to our ministries come to Christ when they see other Christians. Japanese are very good at not being different. When they see something, they want to be like everyone else. So for them to go to a Christian ministry to see that other Japanese are Christian, that's very important. But if they go just see you're the only Christian they know, they might think, you might be a little bit crazy, I'll be your friend. But if they see maybe 20, 30 other Japanese, they would think, I don't think they are all crazy. Maybe they have something that they know that I don't know. So group ministry, or even big events, like if you do invite them for a concert, invite them and they see 200 people and they all say they're Christian. Wow, but they don't look strange. They look like a normal Japanese person, but they seem happy. Maybe you want to learn more about it. So group ministry helps some of your Japanese viewers. Another one might be not just inviting them to church, but sharing the gospel first. People think evangelism is, I invited them to church. Or maybe I told them, God loves you. Come and like, that's not evangelism. They don't know what it is about. But if they share about the separation from God and how God came and restored the relationship and allows them to have a close relationship, that might start a conversation. No one's gospel presentation is perfect. But everyone who knows Jesus probably knows enough to share about the relationship, right? So from that, you can get trained and you can also share testimony. But I think before they come to church will be the best start. Then when they're interested, you can invite them to church.
I know you talked about you share the gospel as if it's your hobby. So can you elaborate on that?
I feel that Japanese are very good at reading the person's face. 空気を読む人. They can read your face. So many times when people share about Jesus, to us is very important. But because of that, it becomes a very heavy topic. Do you know what will happen after you die? Do you know about God? The Japanese person is very scared because I'm not ready for this conversation. We're always the honne and tatamai. The tatamai is always the easy conversations are the one that they will talk about. They will never share heavy things. But you can also share the gospel in an easier way, a lighter way. When I say about hobby, my examples are always like, oh, what about coffee? Did you know there are different kinds of coffee? You can roast it, and every 3 seconds changes the flavor from light to dark roast. You should try light roast coffee. If I say that with a Christian, it'll be like, oh, did you know there's a God who loves you? Oh, I think that God really cares for you. What do you think about that? Hey, maybe you should join it one day. Your whole body language, your eyes, your mouth. Are you making it heavy on your Japanese friend? Or are you sharing it? It is very important, but sharing in a way that you can keep having a normal conversation with your friend.
Thank you. And finally, I want to ask you, what's your vision, and what can we pray for you?
My vision is that revival will come to Japan in my lifetime. That means within the next 40 years. That will require me to connect with other mission agencies, to connect with the local Japanese church, to connect with people and train them for sharing the gospel, and then let them train other people to multiply in that way. So you can pray that God will give me a blessing with the Japanese churches. Sometimes they are afraid to try new things, and maybe they are skeptical of missionaries. So you can pray that God would allow that relationship to be a blessing to them. You can pray for missionaries. Many missionaries, they have never been trained to share the gospel. I don't know where they are. I have friends with many groups, but there are many other groups I have never heard. And then pray for the ministries to be able to multiply. My hope is that I can show people that in every city that the Japanese are open. So if I serve in, for example, Kyoto for a few years, and they can see that, it multiplied and grows really quickly, maybe it'll be a good model for other cities to take. And of course, once we grow from the city, I pray for the Japanese to take it to the villages, because the villages are usually more open to the Japanese than for international missionaries. But many of the village people go to the city to study and work. Who knows if we can share the gospel with them, and that God will call them to go back home and share the gospel.
Wow. Thank you so much for the interview. I hope you'll be able to prepare yourself to go to Japan for long term. And in fact, he is right now fundraising for his long-term mission in Japan. So if you're interested, if God touches you to support him, please do so. And I will leave a link to your contact below in the description, so you can contact him. Thank you once again, Ariel, for being in the show.
Yes.
See you in the next episode.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right, thank you very much.